Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be the ultimate PvE build guide for the Brahmani sniper rifle based on the bounce keyword. The weapon itself is quite satisfying to use. Plus, it can deal massive damage over a large radius due to the bounce mechanism. Whether it's pro bosses or silos, you can easily annihilate everything. Also, since this is a non-elemental build, you don't have to rely on upgrading your gear to upscale your damage output. Starting from the keyword itself, a bounce can hit a random enemy within 15-meter radius, dealing 40% weapon damage per hit. This damage can crit, hit weak spots, and damage decreases with distance. So with the right set of gear and mods, this bounce damage can be scaled effectively. In this video, I have showcased both crit and weak spot builds for this weapon, along with recommended gear and mods. For new players who are just starting to play the game, this bounce build is quite good in compared to other elemental builds. Plus, I'll also share my conclusion, so make sure you watch the video till the end. Now, without further ado, let's get started. By default, the gun has a 75% chance to trigger a bounce. Additionally, 2 extra bounces are triggered, bringing the total to 4 bounces instead of the default 2. Hitting the environment can also activate a bounce, but with a 30% damage reduction. Lastly, the weapon has a plus 100% bounce weak spot priority compared to the default value. This means the chance of bounce shots hitting weak spot is doubled compared to the other bounce builds. For weapon accessories, focus on accuracy and stability, or you can copy these for a perfect balance. Since I don't play on mobile, I suggest mobile players to test and adjust the accessories themselves to find the right balance, and if you want to find your desired weapon accessories, you can use this interactive map from the video description. For the secondary gun, you can choose either Bingo or Wildfire to trigger Bullseye for an additional damage boost, and for melee choose any, though Long Axe can help you trigger Fortress Warfare for addition weapon damage. Talking about weapon calibration, you can choose Frugal or Stabilized style with double crit rate for the crit build and double weak spot damage for the weak spot build. For the secondary, you can use Portable style for faster weapon switching. For our key gear, use Sharp Blade Pants for an additional bounce count for both types of builds. Use 3-piece Renegade along with 2-piece Lone Wolf if you're running a crit build, and 3-piece Renegade with 2-piece Bastille for a weak spot build. For lunar events where you have low sanity, you can go with a 3-piece Treacherous and 2-piece Lone Wolf set for massive damage for both crit and weak spot builds. For damage buffs through animal hides, like for the mask, you can use Golden Wool for up to 12% weapon damage, or Lunar Wolf Skin for weak spot damage. For mods, prefer 2 Bounce and 5 Violent Suffix mods for the crit build, and 5 Precision Suffix mods for the weak spot build. When it comes to attribute preferences for Bounce Suffix, aside from the fixed 6% bounce damage attribute, prioritize linked attributes like Bounce Crit or Weak Spot damage, along with damage to Great Ones if you're up against bosses, and elite damage for elite enemies. Similarly, for Violent and Precision suffixes, prioritize weapon damage, reload speed, and magazine capacity, along with damage to Great Ones or elites. If you can go risky with low sanity or HP, then choose lunar mods on the helmet and top. For mod preference, go with crit damage and weapon damage increase with HP loss, and damage to Great Ones or elites. For our primary gun, use multi-bounce with a bounce suffix for increased bounce damage after every bounce, up to a maximum of 45%. For the secondary, go with Vulnerability Amplifier for 8% vulnerability on enemies with Bullseye. For the helmet, equip Moment Up for both builds, or use Precise Strike for the weak spot build if it has better substats. For the mask, equip Precision Bounce with a bounce suffix for additional bounce damage, or Break Bounce as a weaker alternative if it has better attributes. For gloves, go with Crit Boost for 15% crit rate and munitions amplifier or weak spot damage boost for the weak spot build. For shoes, go with Covered Advance for non-risky encounters and Rush Hour for risky ones where you get extra weapon damage over your HP loss. For the top, you can choose any gold mod of your choice, but my go-to picks include Quick Comeback for instant reload when using an activator, and Ardent Shield for lunar events, which gives damage reduction when you have a shield. Lastly, for the pants, prefer Reload Rampage for continuous refilling of bullets when killing an enemy, or Critical Surge and 3 strikes when facing bosses, for both crit and weak spot builds. For food buffs, you can use Mixed Fried Hot Dog for a 20% damage boost against enemies affected by Bullseye. This offers the highest damage potential if you can consistently mark enemies before switching to your main weapon. Alternatively, you can use Crumbly Bread, which provides a 25% weapon damage increase without the need to repeatedly mark enemies. For complete information about food buffs in the game, you can watch my Ultimate Food Buff Guide. The link will be provided in the description. For deviation choices, Lone Wolf works best in all scenarios except some airborne enemies like the Forsaken Giant Boss, where Snapshot or Butterfly's Emissary effectively helps a lot. For Cradle, you can copy these perks for the best damage output and replace as per need. For example, when you are fighting in the Lunar event, you can simply replace Marked Strike and Bounty Hunter with Resilience and Energy Surge for better defense against lunar deviants and faster recovery of your deviation during the lunar timings. These are the overall stats of my build. If you are focusing on a crit build, then make sure you have at least an overall 34% base crit rate and crit damage close to 100%. Damage test. The damage test on the dummies isn't a reliable way to measure damage differences, as bounce shots are quite random. Additionally, the results depend heavily on the total amount of damage to normal enemy attributes across all your mods, since the dummies are classified as normal enemies. Conclusion. If you are planning to use this weapon against bosses, then a weak spot build will work great. However, in overall terms, the crit build is more versatile across all types of situations, especially when enemy weak spots are hard to target. Another reason for new players to go with a crit build is that most guns in the game benefit more from crit, allowing the same mods and gear to be used across different weapon builds. Additionally, you can replace any Violent Suffix mod with the Precision 1 if it has better substats. Okay, that's all for this video. If you found it helpful, consider liking and subscribing for more Once Human tips and builds. Until then, I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.